Welcome everyone to the next episode in the Purposely podcast. I'm so excited to introduce you to JJ today. He's coming all the way from LA. Welcome, JJ.
Thank you so much. Where is my applaud, Emily? Come on, listen. I'm a speaker. I have people. I haven't been applauded for 16 weeks, 18 weeks.
I know. Tell me about it. It is crazy. So we were just talking about the fact that we've just gone down into stage 4 lockdown in Melbourne. So yeah, it's pretty shit. But anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about because I'm over it. But I'm here to ask you, what's the story of JJ? Before I kick off, I like to ask all my guests. So if you were a Barbie or a dinner party and someone said, "Hey, JJ, nice to meet you. What do you do?" How the hell do you explain what you do? Because I've stalked you and you're a speaker, you're a magician, you're like a YouTube superstar. So give us the story.
Sure. I usually say whatever it takes. What do you do? Whatever it takes. That breaks a bit of the ice. And then they either like it or they don't like it. Oh, smart ass, or okay, I'm curious now. I'm leaning in. So no, guys, look, 16 years ago, I wanted to do two things. I wanted to tell the world who I am, what I do, and why I do what I do. And I wanted to stand on the biggest stages in the world and do that. And, throughout my last 16, 17 years, I've, been to 30 countries. I've got to speak as a speaker and, for the biggest companies in the world, McDonald's, Virgin, Coca-Cola, Starbucks, you name it. And, throughout that journey, I've had different ways to present a message. I was a magician. I ran a nightclub for a while. I was a famous YouTuber. I used to be a confidence dating coach in Sydney. But for me, at the end of the day, it didn't really matter what I did, Emily. It was people. I love people because people are my passion and people are my purpose. And I've always had this kind of ideal of when I meet someone, let me get to know you. I don't care who you are, what you do, whether you're Asian or Caucasian, you're fat or skinny, gay, straight, or if you're in LA, you feel like a giraffe today. I don't care.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What I care about is your heart and character. I want to get to know you, man. Tell me what you want to do. Where do you want to go? And along my journey, I started traveling when I was 15 years old and I'm 32 now. And I'd go to a new country and I said to my dad, I love culture. I want to get to know people. And I'm always a big sponge of information and knowledge. And I'm always getting to meet people and understand why they do what they do and how they do it and what can I learn from them. And to date, 2020 now, I'm here in LA and, I speak for a living. So speak to speak to organizations, but then I also work with young entrepreneurs because I really feel when I was 18, I didn't have anyone to talk to and I felt I was different. Like a lot of people listening, you got something. And it's challenging because the world is not in our favor for us to win, in my opinion. The world wants us to do a certain set of standards. And I believe there's more to life than just doing one norm. Getting married, going to college, doing this thing. That's for some people, happy for them. For me, it wasn't. And I didn't have anyone I could talk to, being an 18-year-old with a lot of energy, but wanted to travel the world by myself. And now I help young entrepreneurs in America and Asia and in Europe. And I want to tell them, hey, man, you can do whatever you want to do. Let me help you. So I've got a young entrepreneurs group and I'm a speaker to organizations.
Amazing. Well, I'm sure there's a backstory here, though. I'm sensing there's a backstory. So let's go right back to the start and hear how you kind of got there. So I want to know, let's go deep. Let's go right back to when you were a kid. Have you always felt like you were different or destined for greatness, or what's your background and how did you end up to where you are today? Because I think that a lot of the listeners really resonate with really real stories.
I've always felt that I wanted to connect more with people and do more. I never really felt I was different per se, but I felt from the people that I was around, I would always hang out with people older than me. I was a very curious person. That's just who I am, and I've always been like that. And it's a good thing and a bad thing. My big fat Australian mouth gets me in trouble way more than people think. But it's also saved my life a lot as well, because it's given me the opportunity to speak up and show courage. And my dad always told me when I was younger, if I want something in life, go ask for it. Come on. We're not going to give you that. You want to go get another napkin? Go and ask the waitress. Go and ask the server.
Yeah. Yep.
They're not going to give you. And
Where did you grow up? Where did you grow up, JJ?
Breezy, Australia. Good old Mount Gravatt. Where's my Aussies listeners? Brisbane, Mount Gravatt, Australia, Christian school, Christian church,
Wow.
and around that kind of whole ideal of life. And, I was told in the religion that I was brought up in how to live sometimes, and I didn't feel it. I wasn't a fan of the way that I was told to do things. And I realized that when I started traveling alone when I was 15 and 16, and you start to meet people that have got their head on their shoulders, right, in my opinion, and you're like, well, they didn't have to go to church on a Sunday. What's going on? Like, so there was a lot of lessons I learned from being around that world till I was, 17 years old.
And so how did you become a magician? Because I'm fascinated with that. Like, what's that about?
So, I think a lot of children, there's a thing when you're like 5 years old, a lot of kids get interested in magic. It's a very sexy thing for a 5-year-old boy. Something fun about it. Magic is just like, maybe it's the same thing for maybe a girl in ballet, maybe dancing. I don't know. But for a young 5 to 7-year-old boy, right? Magic is it's usually very fascinating for everybody. I was just the kid, Emily, that did it more. I just wanted to do it more. And I loved it because it gave me a great way to connect with people. And I remember, learning it, practicing it. And then that's what gave me the chance to travel around the world, to this art form that very few people could do. And because I, got to connect with people, got to, really do some amazing things and meet some amazing people. And, leave school when I was 16, make $300 cash for McDonald's, come back where everyone flashed the money like this. Like, hey, don't show anyone. Like, and kids are trying to just like go work at, where were they working at the time? It was like,
Coles?
Not even Coles. It was like probably like Woolworths, like being a bag boy, like at, $12 an hour. And I was coming back in an hour making $300, like with $100 bills. You've made it as a 15-year-old.
Oh, so, yeah. You're like P. Diddy.
Right? Yeah. So that life for me was really interesting. But then over the time, I would always skill up. So magic for me was like a sword, right? And then, being an MC was like the armor. And then, speaking was like the helmet. And then running a nightclub was like, an extra sword. And then, going along my travels, I would just accumulate skills. So I was this ultimate soldier that could go into any situation and like do whatever I wanted, and that was important for me.
And so you left school at 16. So
no, I left school at 17,
because I think it like millennials now and young people now are realizing that the traditional path and a traditional education is not necessarily the road to success. And I speak to so many entrepreneurs and amazing business owners and thought leaders on this program that, they were a high school dropout or they went to uni and dropped out because they realized, fuck this is not what I want to do. I'm not on fire for it. So what's your advice for young people who are trying to decide what the heck they want to do with their lives if they're not vibing with school? Because school is pretty like one-dimensional. Like we don't teach kids the right things anymore. Like there's no classes on entrepreneurship or purpose-led stuff. So what's your advice there?
Yeah, I love that. And, this is a really big shift in America at the moment because these kids, this is why I've started a young entrepreneurs mastermind, right? I call it JJ Winners. If you want to check it out, JAY Winners, you'll love it. And it's for young entrepreneurs, right? Usually between 18 and 22, right? But you can join, doesn't matter whether you're 48, you can join. But usually the problem is this, Emily. They finish school. They don't want to go to college, right? Because it's overpriced. And a lot of people are saying they're not getting the satisfaction. And then they also don't want to work at McDonald's because it's so underpaid. And it's like, I don't want to slave away. And they're seeing these young people online using on Instagram, right? Whether they're real or not, because America is all about big, big, big. And they want to do that. They want to be their own boss. They want to do their own thing. They don't really know what it is, but they don't want to do these two roads.
Yeah.
So I tell people all the time, listen, I haven't figured out either. I'm 32 and I'm just starting to figure out maybe I'm meant to help people win in life.
Yeah.
Maybe this is my calling. But I had to do like 15, 20 different things in my life. Like
Yeah.
on paper, it looks really cool. Yeah, you work for Playboy, you ran the nightclub in Asia, Jay. You work for a digital meeting agency. You have 50 million views on YouTube. You've been a celebrity, on paper for a lot of people. You've been a magician. Great, but those things didn't fulfill me, Emily.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the
That's the thing
reason,
though, isn't it? It's about
absolutely,
working out what fills you up and what gets you excited and what your passion is. And like so many people now, it's like they want a career where they feel like they've got purpose and it's got a higher meaning than
Mhm,
just than making money.
mhm.
And so you've done an amazing job of building up an Instagram following. And I know that today we wanted to talk about influence and how you become an influencer. And I hate that word because I think it's a bit
Me too.
wakey.
Me too.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
but
me too. Yeah.
yeah, like how do you create a voice for yourself and a platform using Instagram and YouTube? Because like I've looked at your YouTube shit and man, like you have nailed that. So
Mm.
um like social media is such a powerful tool and some people have cracked the code and others haven't. So how do you crack the code, man?
Look, cracking the code. Can I tell cracking the code with anything, Emily? Like what I appreciate
Yep.
about you. You can let's talk about cracking the code in life, not with
Yep.
YouTube. Commit. Like I say to everybody all the time when they come and work with me, whether you're wanting me to coach you with speaking or whether you're an entrepreneur. Listen, guys, you want to win, you got to commit. You got to do this. So let's commit, right?
That's it. It's about consistency, commitment, like showing up every day. Like there's no get rich quick scheme. Like everyone thinks, oh, like if I become an influencer on, Instagram, then I'm going to be rich. Like I know so many people who have 30, 40,000 followers on Instagram and they're making no money at all.
No,
No money. Would
no,
you
you're so
agree?
right. You're so right. And the great thing about being a maybe Australian and also traveling a fair bit, which has really given me an understanding of like what's important. Like the whole trying to fake it for me doesn't work for me. I'll tell it
Yeah.
to you straight. Like, listen, I'm all about fake it till you make a little bit because I'm in America. You got to shine the. We call it shining the shoe here. You got to shine it up a little bit. But guess what? When you get to the party, when you get to the nightclub and you look great, you better learn how to dance. Meaning, if you shine the shoe and fake it to make it, you better have character and substance. And
Yeah.
most people don't. So you nailed it on the head. Commitment, consistency, and courage. You need the
Yeah.
commitment. You need the consistency of doing it. And you need a courage to go, hey, I've got the courage. When I get hit down and you spend so long creating a video that you think is going to be a hit and you get 5 views,
Yeah.
are you going to pick yourself up or are you going to be like, I'm it, that's it, I give up?
That's
Now,
it.
for everybody listening, I don't think there's anything wrong with ever shifting. If you're pushing something uphill, learn how to let it go. You know what? That wasn't for me. But guess what? I'm still going to find something else. I don't go
Yeah.
back to that old life.
Yeah.
So that's why for me, Emily, and everybody listening, like just because you do one thing doesn't mean you're stuck to doing that forever. That's what's great about this Corona thing. You know what? Whatever you
Yeah.
did, the old world, Emily, you're done. If you want to
Yeah.
be a baker, go be a baker. If you want to go be a magician, go be a magician. If you want to
Yeah.
run a super awesome podcast like Emily, do it. Guess what? You know who's stopping you? You.
Yourself. That's it. That's it. I love it. I love it. So let's talk about influence though. How have you used YouTube? Like, did you pay shitloads of money to be mentored by the best in the world at YouTube? Did you just
No.
work it out? Like, how did you learn how to influence people and create that following on YouTube and
Sure.
Instagram?
Yeah, sure. At the beginning, this is when 2008 when I first started. We didn't have a lot of the tools we have now to easily just like press a button and do stuff. So there was a little bit more work, but the same principles apply today. I figured out something not I loved. I did like magic. I didn't love it, but I liked it enough that I could keep pushing through. So I did something where I was showcasing my tricks on YouTube, like teaching people magic tricks. I was doing it like 2 to 3 times a week, right? And I was consistently doing it. And then because I was consistent and people liked it, and I was talking to them in the YouTube comments, which is like talking to your tribe,
Yeah.
engaging with the people like on Instagram, then people would come back. 3 videos a week for 6 years. Remember that.
Wow.
So people want to say like, well, it's not working. Dude, how long have you been doing it for? Well,
Yes.
3.5 weeks. Get out of here, man.
Yeah.
I remember Gary Vee. There was, Gary Vee, right? He has this
Yeah,
clip.
of course.
This guy comes up to him, he's like, I'm trying to be a rapper. And Gary Vee says, how long have you been rapping for? And he's like 3 weeks. He's like, get the out of here, man.
Yeah.
Don't waste my time. 3 weeks.
Exactly.
Dude, do it for 3 years every day for 18 hours. He's like, then talk to me,
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. So why did you move to LA? Like, what is it about LA?
LA, America, it is the land of opportunity. I know a lot of people may not think that being out of America, but there's some really big opportunities here. And America, what I do love about this country, you play big, people will support that.
Yeah.
Like they know
it's syndrome.
There's no such thing as tall poppy here. It's more like its success is big here, and they will support you. They might be jealous, but jealous is not. I would rather jealousy than tall poppy. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah, they want, like, it's all about go for gold, go big. So I was really well suited here because I wanted to do more, and that you can do more in Australia. Don't get me wrong, but I felt the culture in Australia for me was limiting to me because, it was hard for me, Emily. Like I was put in a pigeonhole. You're too loud, Jay. You're too annoying. You're too chatterbox. No one will work with you. You're too much, and that's hard because you start to think of yourself like maybe I am too much, and maybe I am too loud, and maybe I don't know myself. And so for the people out there, let me tell you something from an Australian, whoever you're at, whether you're 15 or 55, you're from Sydney or Singapore, London or LA, listen, just keep going, man. Listen, go do more. I'm allowing you. A lot of people haven't been given permission, Emily, to do more, and the people that are going to stop you first, I'm like, guys, it's going to be the people around you. First ones are going to be the closest ones.
Exactly. Like it's your best mates, your family who go, oh, no, you can't do that, or that's not going to work, and it's just because they're jealous and scared because you're having a crack and they're like stuck in their 9-to-5 job, probably still living with their parents. But anyway, I'm being a bit mean now. But looking back.
But you're being honest, though. You're being honest and you're being truthful, and I'm allowing you to say that because it's the truth. Like, that is the truth. And I'm giving everybody permission right now from someone who doesn't know you, who's listening, right? You're allowed to. And there are multiple millions of people in the world that are in your position. You're not alone. And you can start,
So looking back over your career, what's like one of the things that you're like most proud of that you think back and go, fuck, I can't believe I did that? It's like when you're like, I've made it, man.
You know what? I'll tell you, here's one story, right? Really, really good story. I was sitting on my parents' couch in 2016, and I had to find over 5 figures for my visa to get to this country, right?
Yep.
It was a lot of money. I didn't have the money, and I didn't have rich friends. I didn't have rich parents, right? I couldn't just I'm just going to go to my bank account. And I had to do something I'd never done before. I had to go borrow money, and I needed it quick. America doesn't have a payment plan, and they don't care about you.
Is this for your green card thing? Is that
no,
what
this
it's called?
is my O1 visa.
O1 visa,
Yeah. And I needed to borrow over 5 figures to get my visa for this country. And it was all on me. And I remember sitting there, and I was sitting on my parents' couch, and I will never forget, I'm on my phone. I'm like, let me go through my contacts, right? I'm thinking, I'm like, how am I going to do this? And, it's funny when you don't want to do it, you procrastinate. I like went grabbed something to eat, mucked around on the TV. I'm like, I got to do this. And I took a breath in, and I went to WhatsApp. I'm like, how can I get rid of this message? I don't want to call them because I don't want to get a yes or no answer. I want to let it sit. All right. So I sent out probably 15 messages, right? It was about 8:30 at night. In the morning, I got some responses. Anyway, it was the hardest thing I ever had to do because I had to make a decision. do I want to do this or not? I'm like, what's the worst that's going to happen? What are they going to never talk to me again? Yeah. 2 weeks later, I had that money, and it was probably one of the scariest things I've had to do, because I've never had to borrow that much money from I've never done it before. I never asked, So making that decision was something that I'm here today.
And I think it's amazing, like a lot of people are scared to ask. Like I see this all the time. Like,
right.
With my podcast, when I first started out, I was like looking for people to be on the podcast. I was like, oh, I'd love to talk to that person. And then I'm thinking, oh, they're not going to want to talk to me. And then I was like, well, why not? What have I got to lose? I'm just going to bloody ask them. And then sure enough, like all these amazing people are like, yeah, sure, I'd love to be on your podcast. So like, I think the message is, if you want to be a success and you want to do shit in your life, just ask. Like people I think are so scared of rejection or someone saying no. And that's not the worst thing in the world. What the worst thing in the world is wishing and thinking about doing something and then never doing it, right?
Yeah, 100%, Emily, 100%. And I applaud you right now. I tell you, why, Emily? Because I know, without even knowing you, that you've had to push through times, and you've had to make tough calls, and you've had to reach out and go, I don't want to do this. But guess what? You're in the position that you are today because you've done the work. And I applaud you for that. And I applaud anyone else out there, because we only want to see what we want to see. We only want to see the glamour. We only want to see the final result.
Yeah.
I'm in LA. Yeah, on my Instagram, sure, it looks sexy and I make it look. I know that, but guess what? I had to do stuff that I didn't want to do. I had to make phone calls that I didn't want to make. I have to do things every day. It's not about loving what you do. It's like I have to do whatever I have to do to get to the next level.
That's it. That's so right. Because like in any job, in any profession, there is things about it that you're not going to love, and there's like admin, there's crappy things in every job. And you've got to do those things. Like nothing's what it seems, I think is the message that I hear quite a bit.
Yeah, but what you're doing is amazing. You're uncovering the truth, Emily. And that's what I'm big on when I do any kind of like, when we have conversations, right? Hey, I get it looks glamour. Let's talk real though. Let's be on like, I can peel back the onion on every celebrity of Hollywood if you want, of what influencers really like. Yeah, how much of these influencers are really making? What's the real truth? And once you know the real truth, it makes you go, okay then. That's not as interesting as I thought it was going to be. It's like a magic trick. You figure out the magic trick, you're like, oh, I didn't want to know that.
Damn. I love it. But it's interesting because like we put people up on a pedestal and we put these Instagram influencers up on a pedestal. But at the end of the day, they're just people. Like everyone's just a person. Everyone has good days, bad days, and like it's really interesting. Like what's happening in the world at the moment and how it's all kind of coming to the fore that a lot of people are worshipping false idols. So. Well, what do you say about that? Because I think that some people look up to people who we think are a certain type of person, but maybe they're not. How do you cut the wheat from the chaff?
Sometimes people don't want to, though, Emily. They want to believe in fantasy. They want to believe in do they really want to know? And I say that to people sometimes too. Like when they ask me things, especially people back in Australia, what's it like? I'm like, do you really want to know? Because I didn't know. Now I'm in it.
Yeah.
One of my best friends here. He's a big casting director here. His name is David. And when I first came here, I worked for him. And he does. You name any celebrity: Ariana Grande, David Guetta, Justin Timberlake, Enrique Iglesias. He's casted everybody in their music videos. Justin Timberlake, right? So when I worked for David, he got me to cast and choose people for ads and commercials. Just working for him for a week blew my mind, because what I thought Hollywood was like was not the case.
Yeah,
it's what we want everybody to think, but it can be very fake. It can be very like fake it till you make it. It's not real sometimes, but behind it, there is some great talent and great people here too. That's why
how do you distinguish though, like living in that world in Hollywood, like in LA, like it's, Hollyweird, like there's all this stuff in the media at the moment, all these conspiracy theories and Like, what is it
Mhm.
really like living in Hollywood? Is there any real people there, or is it all a bit vacuous? And like, I've got this idea in my head that LA
Yeah,
would not be somewhere I wanted to live because
sure.
I don't know. I have a preconceived idea about Hollywood.
Gotcha. You know what? It is what you want it to believe, but like I tell people, like it isn't as glamour as what people think. You know, as my friend David said, it takes you a few years to find out like who's around, like who that. You know what? In my opinion, what Americans want to see, they want to see if you're still in the game after 3 or 4 years. If you're consistent
Yeah,
in character,
yeah,
like that. Okay, we know what you're doing. They'll keep watching you. Then after a while, they see you, they know you're the real deal. Like, okay, cool. Now we kick it. We boys now. We're
yeah,
friends now. But
yeah.
took me about 2 to 3 years to break through that kind of like, we don't know you. I don't know if I can trust you. Yeah.
And so, who is the most famous person you have met?
Emily would have to be up there, top two at
Ah,
least. So probably, it's that doesn't, it's funny. That doesn't really, that's a good point. It's not a high value it's not really high values for me. But let me think about who have I met. You know what? I met Sarah Michelle Gellar at a casting, and I'm like, are you doing?
who's that? What's she on? Is she the one, the Buffy the Vampire one?
Yeah. I just
Yep.
saw her like, oh, what are you doing here? Like, shouldn't you be famous? That was like, just because you're a superstar doesn't mean they've got to work somewhere, you know?
Yeah. And that's it. Like, we think that movie stars, like, they get paid this exorbitant amount of money to be in these films, but when you hear about what it's
Mm,
really like on a film set, like they work 15, 16-hour days, like they're living in a caravan, like it's not as glamorous as we
yeah.
think, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, maybe one day I'll get my boy David to come on and talk about the life of celebrities, because he's on
Yeah.
every set with them and what you see and what they are, and he's got some great stories about which celebrities you think are cool and which celebrities are like
Mm.
assholes. And
Yeah,
it's
like
not the
Ellen.
ones you
Ellen at the moment. Ellen DeGeneres is fall
Ellen's
from
Ellen's
grace.
I know Ellen's not getting good rap. Um,
No.
but hey, Emily, I got to run. Actually, it sounds really bad. I've got to take
That's
another
okay.
call.
That's all right.
But yeah, but look, I love to like I love to, I love to connect with your people on, like if whoever's listening right now, like I want to say like, Emily, well done. I'm not saying that being charming or cool because you're having me on your show. Like, keep pushing, keep going, because the people I know, especially in the podcast world and what you're doing, like the ones I keep seeing people that just give up, and it's the ones
Yeah.
like you who keep pushing are gonna win. Like
Thank
people
you.
impress with consistency. So guys, I'd love to connect with everybody. At JJ Live, at JayJayLive on Instagram. Send me a DM. Say what's up. I saw you on Emily's podcast, and yeah, love to. However, I can connect you, help you out. Don't be afraid to ask.
Thank you so much for giving us your time and wisdom. It was fascinating talking to you. And we will share all your handles in the episode when we publish it. But thank you so much. And over and out from Melbourne to LA.
Thanks, Emily. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much.